Canadians Black, letter B, number 4, letter U, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Logos to show.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Incline. I'm your host, Crystal, and I am here with Kim at the New Black Wall Street Market at her shop called B.L.A.C.K. And we're going to let Kim tell you what B.L.A.C.K is all about.
Yeah. Well, B.L.A.C.K, we are a merchandising company, and we specialize in licensed apparel for the Negro League, the Buffalo Soldiers, and the Tuskegee Airmen. And we do it as educational partnership with the corresponding organizations because we want to make sure that one, that those organizations are known and represented, both financially, making sure money goes back to them. Two, from an educational standpoint, because we recognize that people are working hard to hide our history. So we're working that much harder to make sure that the history is told. And then third, we want to make sure that people have a quality product that represents it. You don't want to have a shirt that you love and then, you wash it and it becomes a medium. So part of our mission was to make sure that we have a product that the product itself is as high quality as the history that it represents.
And it is. Here at the shop, I've walked past and talked to Kim quite a few times. I've come in to look at her apparel as a customer, and it's high quality.
Yes, ma'am.
Like her products really do stand out. You can tell.
Yes.
Kim, how did you get into this part of the apparel business?
As far as like from the Black history standpoint?
Yeah.
Well, it started as I was buying my husband was very into the Negro League.
Okay.
And so I bought him some stuff. I found some stuff and I was like, oh man, I was going to surprise him. I can't remember if it was birthday or Christmas.
Sure.
And so this was kind of back in the day. So I called, ordered it. It came. I didn't even look at it. I just got it, wrapped it up. And I was so excited. And I gave it to him and I was like, I got you. And we're all like, yay. And we opened it up and it's absolute garbage.
We've all experienced that, right?
Exactly. And it was like iron on. Just the designs, just everything about it. And I was just so disappointed. And I was like, man, we've got to do better. What I found out later was some of the designs that were on it were designs that he had done. Because what I did not know is in the 80s, I think it was in the 80s, the Negro League Museum was trying to kind of revitalize the line. So they sent out to all of the design schools in the country a request that, hey, we want to kind of upgrade the looks because like people would see a C and not know the C was for the Crawfords. The C was for Cincinnati. Sure. So to kind of, give them a little bit more flavor. And several of the designs that he submitted, the museum accepted. And, he got paid to do it and was like, okay, I'm a broke college student. We're cool. The things that he designed were the things that I bought for him. So
how
it was
interesting.
Exactly. So we talked to the people at the company and he had that whole conversation and started working with them. And at that time, it was through the Negro League Players Association, which is now defunct. But in working with them and kind of getting the line up and then recognizing, wait a minute, he figured that he would just do it. You can never make a career in doing this. He was in architecture. He left architecture after 6 months. I was still in corporate America. It took me 4 years because I was like, I got
I don't know.
my job, my pension, my, da.
But he just kind of quit.
He immediately was like, he saw the vision. We do a lot with the Negro League players. There were more at that time. So doing events with them, with the Tuskegee Airmen. And the more time you spend with the people that created the history, the more that you love, not just the history, but that you're able to represent them. And it makes you want that much more to be able to have a quality product. And really, that's where this kind of came. We started out just doing the Negro League, and then we advanced to the Buffalo Soldiers, and then to the Tuskegee Airmen.
I was going to say, how did you bridge across to those other organizations?
Because we would do a lot of military. I've got a nationwide contract with both the VA and with military bases. And when we're on a base, people are like, well, why are you limited into just the Negro League? There were so many other elements of Black history. What about the Buffalo Soldiers? So we got licensed with the Buffalo Soldier Museum, with the Tuskegee Airmen Association, and started having a power for them. There are other Black elements of military, like there's the Triple Nickels, the 761st Tank Battalion, the Red Ball Express, a lot of Harlem Hellfighters, a lot of people have never heard of it.
So Kim,
So
you had to really dive in. You and your husband, as you hear, she's not just selling the apparel, right? Like this is pretty deep.
This is the story, because if we don't tell it, you know, there are very few World War II vets, period, black, white, that are still alive. So if you want to really be able to tell their story, you have to be able to tell it and get it from them while they're still here. Because once they're gone, the story can die with them. And our history itself is going anyway. But the people that are still here is like trying to find somebody that was in Tulsa during the massacre and find out what really happened. We're just trying to keep their stories alive.
So how did you, I mean, it sounds like your passion encompassed your husband's passion, or did you reignite his passion?
It was kind of a combination of both. He had the passion. I played softball growing up.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
But
sports it was background.
Yeah, a little bit. You know,
a little bit.
Just
a little.
Yeah. But he his passion was, first of all, it's every sport. He was a professional athlete in the track standpoint. He ran for Nike and like some other people. But he had a passion for Black history. You know, actually he studied under Dr. John Hope Franklin at Duke when he was working on his master's. So he was like, to be able to put sports and Black history into my own business is like the ideal, perfect situation. And I was like, that's cool. But to me, it was just something we could do on the weekend because I wasn't really sure.
So how did you end up with a shop here at the New Black Wall Street Market?
That's
B.L.A.C.K is here.
So last year for Black History Month, we were told, you got to come down, you know, some other people that had shops here, you got to come down to the New Black Wall Street. Nobody has what you have. They haven't seen it. Your stuff is awesome. Come on down. And, you know, we're only Black in February. So, so we came down for a pop-up in the back. And we said, you know, we'll stay 2 weeks. So we booked 2 weeks. Now, I live in New Jersey, okay, just for perspective, okay? So we came down and people were like, we like what you have. We're going to keep supporting you. So we're like, okay. So, well, you know, a couple more weeks. Stayed a couple more weeks. People were still like, we still like what you have. We're going to keep supporting you. And
did that surprise you?
It kind of did. Normally, we're the only ones that do what we do. So people always will gravitate to us, but it tends to be, oh, we like what you have, and that's cool. And now
your products really do stand out. I mean, for those of you, I know you're watching the show, but you got to come and actually see for yourself, right? The quality of the products is really amazing.
It is.
Right? It makes you, exactly. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel proud to walk into your store.
Exactly.
Right?
So to have it on, and when you're walking out in the world, people will stop. If I tell you how many customers are like, man, I wore your coat to the airport. I wore it to the baseball game. I had it on in a restaurant, and people were trying to chase me down and ask me questions and stopping me just because, like you said, because of the quality. But it surprised us, but not really. So it just, you know, the support kept coming. So we're like, okay, you know, we'll see.
So you were still living up north?
Yes.
Traveling?
No, we weren't traveling. We had a hotel, and then we had an Airbnb. And then the owner of that Airbnb was like, this is what I thought it was going to be. I'm planning on selling it. And then this store opened up. So my being here, when I say,
so you hear her
when
story.
I say it's nothing but God, because wasn't nobody trying to live in Georgia. Okay. I was here for 2 weeks. And things just opened up. First, the place opened up. And then this had been empty for like 3 months. And I was like, can I have this spot? Can I have this spot?
You have a really great spot.
Exactly.
I mean, it sits prominent on
Bourbon like, at the intersection of Bourbon and Gaston.
Yeah.
You know, so I can look out the windows and, you know, see everything. But from a display standpoint, because what we said was we want this to be presented as a boutique art museum. The boutique, obviously, for the clothing. The art, because of all the art that we have on the wall, and the museum, just because of what we're representing. And put all of that together. So when you come in, it's not just, I came to buy a jersey. It's you come in, you have an experience.
So do you have a process? Like, you know, from the beginning, when you say, I see a piece, are there some checklists that piece has to match up to in order for it to be accepted into your store?
When you say a piece, you're talking about as far as the clothing? Well, everything we get comes to us from the museums. So the selection that I do is, I typically will just have everything.
Right.
And then just kind of, it's like, you throw things at the wall and see what sticks. And there are
Mm.
some things, like obviously I'm here in Atlanta, so I'm going to
Sure.
make sure I have the Atlanta team.
Gotcha.
I'm going to always have the Buffalo Soldiers and the Tuskegee Airmen.
Gotcha.
As far as the teams, it kind of depends. I'll usually have at least one of everything, because there's people that come. What I recognized is here,
Mhm.
people are coming from everywhere. So I had 1 week where I sold out of Chicago stuff. And I'm like, this is Atlanta, but there was a crew that had come from Chicago.
Right. People do come to the New Black Wall
From
Street market
everywhere.
from everywhere,
Exactly.
even from other countries
Exactly.
as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
California, so what I realize is here,
Mhm.
I just have everything, because I never know who's going to come or what they're going to want.
But
Now,
it's so much space. I mean, it's a
Yes.
really nice
Yes.
size store, but that's what I was wondering. How do you choose? Because everything I see that you have,
Mhm.
it's gorgeous.
Yes.
You
Well,
know, it's
2 things.
inviting.
One, I want you to want one of everything.
Mm,
I want it to be hard
like
for
it.
you to decide.
I like it.
Because if I only have 3 things here,
Sure.
then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll get that one. But if I have 50, you're going to leave with a few things. That's just from a sales standpoint. But even
Mm.
from the size of the space, my goal is not just to sell product, but it's also to be able to host events. I've had schools that have come in, and I have enough room in here that they can come and I can speak to them about the history, and to be able to talk whether they're young or old, because history overall can be boring unless it's presented in a particular way.
I was going to say, what are some of the points that you cover when customers come in? Because I know you can't talk to them for hours.
Yes.
In your
Sometimes
store,
I
right?
can.
Sometimes you can.
But
Yeah.
I kind of allow the customer to lead me.
Okay.
Like, so if they walk in,
Mhm.
the first thing I do is look to see where their eyes are going.
Ah.
And so if I see that you're going and you linger on something in particular, then I'm going to talk to you about that item. Or if you're looking in a section, like if you're looking at the hoodies, I'll say, well, this is the price of the hoodies. This is the price of the jerseys. This is the price of the hats. But if you walk in and say, oh man, the Kansas City Monarchs, or they go straight to that, then I'm going to say, well, do you know the story behind the Kansas City Monarchs? Jackie Robinson and Satchel Paige played for the Kansas City Monarchs. The Kansas City Monarchs are the team that started night baseball. Most people don't know that. They did night baseball before Major League Baseball even did. So there's so many like fun facts about this that, once you just tell them a little bit. I've had many people that came, had no idea about any of this, had no intention of buying anything, and was like, I have to buy something.
So do you continue to study?
You have to. Because even though the history doesn't change,
Right.
there's always things that are your knowledge evolves.
You're always digging out the nuggets,
Yeah.
right?
And
the jewels.
And people are sharing
in
it with
history.
me. People that come in the door,
Really?
oh, my grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman. Oh, my uncle played in the Negro League. And so they're telling me little things. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me look about that. Because there are some things that we don't. We found there were over 130 Negro League teams, but a lot of them played independently. So they didn't actually join the Negro League. So like if you go to Tennessee, there was a team called the Chattanooga Black Lookouts. They were independent team. So I don't have any apparel for them. But if somebody comes from Tennessee, I can say, well, they had the Memphis Red Sox. That was the team that played on the Negro League, but they also had the Chattanooga Black Lookouts. They had the, whatever the other teams were, the Brown Tennessee Rats, which was a real team,
Right,
So I can talk to them about other things from their state,
Mhm.
just to say, well, hey, in California, there were teams, but all of them were independent. So I don't have anything for them, but I
Do
can
you
say,
guys hear
hey,
all of this knowledge? Like she is pouring it on
when I
the
say,
incline.
when I say someone can stand here for 7 hours,
Yeah.
it's, it's
Yeah.
really however much time they have, because once I start, I find sometimes I have to dial back.
And I knew I wanted to highlight you on the incline for the viewers because it's just that vibe, that energy that she has, and you can tell she's proud to be an owner
Yes,
of this store.
absolutely.
It's called B.L.A.C.K. The nickname is B.L.A.C.K U,
Yeah,
right?
Like B4 U.
B.L.A.C.K
So
B4 U.
the company is
B4
B.L.A.C.K,
U.
which when we started is an acronym, which
Okay.
stands for Bases Loaded, Authentic Clothing, and Caps with a K. And we used to go by Bases Loaded when we just had the Negro League. But once we expanded, then we just went to Black because it covers all things Black. Our website and all of our social media is B.L.A.C.K B4 U, Black, letter B, number 4, letter U.
Yeah.
And we do that actually for 3 reasons. One, B.L.A.C.K before you. It's the history, it's Black history. Black before you, it's all the Black history that you see in front of you. And then if you're ebonically linguistic, this Black before you, so however you need to do it,
Yeah.
but it works. So some people know us as Black, some know us as Black before you. I just want to make sure that you know who we are. However it is that you know us, we'll take it.
That is awesome. So how, on the Incline, we like to talk about not only the business owners, but what are some of the background sort of business disciplines that you have to have that you could share with those who want to get into the apparel business? I don't know if it's what she's doing, but it could be overwhelming, right?
It is.
You're dealing with a lot of different entities,
Yeah.
inventory, pricing. What could you share?
It's a little bit of everything. One of the things that, and I can't speak for the
Sure.
world, but I can speak specifically for my business, is I'm a niche. And I had to recognize early on, people were like, you can't have a business just selling Negro League. You can't have a business just selling Black history.
You can.
You have to make sure you at least put some NFL or some NBA, because nobody's going to buy just Negro League. Just as a side note, I started the company in '98. So we survived 9/11, the financial crunch of 2008, COVID, and we're still here. And we have never done anything except the Negro League, the Buffalo Soldier, or the Tuskegee Airmen. We've never incorporated anything that's not Black history. So one thing, as I tell
find
people,
your space, right?
Find your
and
space
be comfortable in it,
and believe in it.
In it.
One of the things that people always say, well, if you were to talk to young entrepreneurs or
Sure.
People going into business, one of the things that I always say is never take criticism from someone you would not go to for advice. And
that's a nugget.
That is so powerful, because people are always going to tell you what you cannot do in your business, or what your struggles are going to be, or how are you
because
going
it's
to do
their
this?
fears that they want to impose on you most of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll embrace that and be like, well, maybe I do need to. Well, what if? But what I found is, by being a niche, I get into I have a lot more opportunities, because one, I'm a woman, and there are other people that have done Negro League over the years. You probably can't think of a woman that did it. Not saying I'm the only one. I'm gonna say I'm the best one, but but there are very few. And one, I'm a Black woman, so people don't know how old I am. Two, I'm Black, so they don't expect you to know the history. Three, I'm a woman, so I don't know anything about sports. So people already come with a preconceived notion of what this is. But when I start to talk to them, they're like, wait a minute.
Just blows their mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So I'm able to do locations at the Pentagon, at the VA, at high-level government institutions. I can get into schools. I'm not limited to just, I have to do this one particular thing.
I think when people hear you speak, they can appreciate your research. Your research and your passion, because this is not your background.
It's not. It is
Which
not
is
my
interesting,
background.
right?
Yes, my background is hospitality. I used to run Marriott's. I left as a Marriott GM to come to do this. Well, we had already started the business before I left the company. But one thing that I do appreciate, which is something else that I would say, I don't always say it, but when anything that you've done from a corporate standpoint, from any business, you can take all of those things and apply them to your own business. Being in the hotel industry, I learned how to deal with drug dealers to CEOs, because they were all staying in different, because the drug dealers, they wanted to, floss. Well, I'm gonna come to the Marriott, so you have to be able to deal with them in a particular way. Wow. The CEO of IBM wants you to know how important he is. You have to be able to talk to him in a different way. I had housekeepers that spoke Spanish, sign language, Japanese, Chinese. You have to be able to communicate with them. So it's taught me, you never know who's walking through your door. You never know who's looking at what you're doing.
Know who you're talking to at the time that you're talking.
Exactly. And if you don't know who you're talking to, just be genuine. Be your genuine, authentic self.
All the time.
Because people have come into the shop, I've had no idea who they were. And then later on I was told, do you know who that was? Do you know what that? And then that person has contacted me later. I think what you're doing is awesome. I want to be a part of this. We need to work together.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. But you have to be your authentic self, because you keep trying to tailor yourself to what you think people want, you're never going to succeed.
It's artificial.
It's very artificial.
And people will pick through artificial things.
Exactly.
I say that even on the Incline, people have said, do you want to do this and that with the show? I said, I have to be Crystal.
Exactly.
Right. So when people walk up to me and they say, oh, I'm watching the show.
Right.
It's really great. Right. They know that they're talking to the person that they see.
Exactly.
So I do agree with that. Just be your authentic self, right? And people will appreciate it. Absolutely. Kim, thank you so much for being on the Incline.
Oh,
This
you're
has
welcome.
been so inspiring for me, and I'm sure all of the viewers who are watching the Incline segment. And please come by the New Black Wall Street Market and
Yes.
check out B.L.A.C.K with Kim, okay? And shop. She says, you know, you can't pick one, so you got to come
You
out
have to
of
get
here
at least
with
10 things. We have a 10 item minimum.
you got to have at least 10 items
Yes.
when you walk out of the store. So come prepared, okay? We'll see you the next time on the Incline. Bye.
And then social media is Black, letter B, number 4, letter U, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.